For such a brief and seemingly insignificant section of 1 Corinthians, the beginning of chapter 16 is surprisingly rich in fascinating leads to follow. Or at least they're fascinating to a nerd like me. There's a fundraising appeal, complete with details on how to collect it, how to send it, and to whom it will go. There's a travel itinerary that Paul says he intends to follow on his way to Corinth. And there's a hint of an exciting ministry possibility, but one that includes some possible danger. All this in just 9 verses that we are apt to gloss over because they don't address the main theological issues of this letter. So where shall we begin? Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your Daily Devotional for Thursday, October 21st, 2021. Let's begin with the reading itself. You'll hear all 3 of the elements I just mentioned. Now, concerning the collection for the saints, you should follow the directions I gave to the churches of Galatia. On the first day of every week, each of you is to put aside and save whatever extra you earn, so that collections need not be taken when I come. And when I arrive, I will send any whom you approve with letters to take your gift to Jerusalem. If it seems advisable that I should go also, they will accompany me. I will visit you after passing through Macedonia, for I intend to pass through Macedonia. And perhaps I will stay with you or even spend the winter, so that you may send me on my way wherever I go. I do not want to see you now just in passing, for I hope to spend some time with you, if the Lord permits. But I will stay in Ephesus until Pentecost, for a wide door for effective work has opened to me, and there are many adversaries. Because we just recently read through Acts and noted the kinds of challenges Paul faced on his missionary journeys, let's talk about the fundraising appeal that Paul makes. If you pay close attention to Paul's letters, he mentions this fundraising effort in a variety of places, in Romans, in 2 Corinthians, and obliquely in Galatians. And indeed, here he assumes the Corinthians are not only already familiar with the offering itself, but also with the instructions he gave to the Galatians, perhaps in another Galatian letter that we don't have. He only mentions here in passing that the offering will go to Jerusalem. So what was the offering for, and why was it important enough to mention here? From other places, including Acts and Romans, we know that there was a years-long effort to raise funds for the Christian community in Jerusalem. From what little we can gather, after all, we're reading someone's mail here, and a lot is simply assumed, many of the Christians in Jerusalem were experiencing financial distress. While we don't know exactly what that was about, it's not hard to make an educated guess. Jerusalem was the center of Jewish life in the world. The temple was the center of worship, though by now synagogues formed the center of weekly worship gatherings in many cities and towns. But one did not make sacrifices in the synagogues. One brought sacrifices on periodic trips to Jerusalem. But the little Christian community seems to have created friction and opposition among the Jews in Jerusalem, even though the Christian community still understood itself to be an integral part of the Jewish community. So one can imagine that 2 things began to happen. First, members of the Christian community may well have experienced social and economic ostracization. Jews who didn't identify with the Christian sect might have begun to quit trading with the Christians. That would have created economic hardship. Add to that the possibility that families may even have been split between traditional Jews and Christian Jews, and the result could have been widows without family able to support them. Sending money to support the Christian community in Jerusalem then would have served at least 2 purposes besides the economic support. First, it would have been a way to cement ties between the Jewish Christians and the Gentile Christians. We know that there was initially some friction between the two, especially when it was decided that the Gentile Christians didn't need to follow the law. An offering like this would have created goodwill among the Jewish Christian community for their Gentile Christian neighbors. And second, it would have been a powerful reminder that the Corinthians were part of a much larger network of churches that was growing all over the Mediterranean basin. As such, they needed to know that what they did, or failed to do, had implications for other Christians in other places. So, where does that leave us? Is this just an interesting glimpse into the life of the early church? Or is there a deeper meaning for us? Well, you know me. I see meanings in some of the most mundane activities. To me, there are two lessons for us. First, care for the poor isn't just a nice thing to do, it is baked into our faith. Throughout the entire Bible, we see God's concern for the poor. To care for the poor is to participate in God's redeeming activity in the world. Second, this offering reminds us that we too are part of a worldwide network of churches, not just Presbyterian and Reformed churches, but all Christian churches. We may not always agree with them, but they are part of our family. Who knew there was so much to such a simple fundraising appeal? Tomorrow we finish out 1 Corinthians with some even more mundane affairs. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.